Hey guys, this is Thaon. So I just want to thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you for all the love and support you've been giving us so far. Please feel free to give it a rating or follow us on your favorite podcast listening platform. Also, if you could leave us a question or ask us anonymously, there'll be a link in the description. Or you can DM us at limitless_pod on either Twitter or Instagram. And we'll try to address one of your questions on one of the later episodes. Thank you again so much, guys, and hope you enjoy this episode. Peace.
It's funny how Chris Berry was talking about buying a bank. GK is too small. Do they buy a certain bank? But I mean, they've bought JMMB. They have millions of dollars in JMMB. They bought them when?
GK?
Yeah. No, this is Mayberry now. Because I was talking about Chris Berry.
Yeah.
So
You
this
mean
is Mayberry buying
MJE?
MJE.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was something that was
Buying
interesting still.
a very large stake in JMFB. Like buyback amounts.
Well, let me
you
look
know?
at the. Yeah, that's the funny way. That's funny. That's funny. That's another thing to talk about one day. The JMMB, the famous buyback, or just buybacks in general. Let me pull up the exact thing that you're talking about. That was something I saw, and I mean, the thing is, the move for them, I think, makes a lot of sense because if you look at the kind of money MJE has to move around, right? The stakes that they take in plays a lot of times, it has to be a lot more long term or with longer timelines. You know?
Timelines.
Yeah, because it's like you can't just move 100 million one day then buy it, sell it. Like you have to be buying it up a lot of times much earlier. So the thing is, for example, JMMB, you know that what was that notice that came out about the supposed buyback? I want to pull up the exact thing so we can. I think this is something very interesting that people, because if you something with investing, I mean, I guess it's just life in general, but it definitely applies to investing. Is that it shows how important reading is, but like reading very carefully, because sometimes you'll just kind of gloss over something and it makes the difference. Because okay, I found a notice, right? So a notice came out. This was December the 6th 2021 on the JSC's website. I will have that in the description. So it says, let's see. So JMMB put out a notice that says, please be advised that they had a meeting of the board of directors November the 25th, right? So the directors met and they approved the recommendation that was made by the management team to execute an open market share buyback, right? And basically that just means that the shares that are outstanding on the market, the company will buy up some of those shares. So basically it will help to, remember, you go back to supply and demand with a stock. They're literally saying we are going to help buy up shares, and that will help to decrease the supply. And a lot of times that can help increase the share price, because the amount of money that they can be putting into the market can help to buy up a lot of the shares that people are selling. And so it might be harder to get JMMB shares, so the price a lot of times will go up. So they said that they would execute an open market share buyback program. And then it says the exercise will commence in the financial year 2022 to 2023, which begins April the 1st, 2022, right? So the financial year sometimes is different from the calendar year. And if you look at JMMB's share price, what was funny was that around that time is when the share price started moving up significantly. So the share price, for example, on like in March was hovering at like 43. It even hit 40, 39. And then you just started seeing it go up. April 1st, it was 45. April 4th, 46. April 5th, 52. And it traded as high as 61. And then right after, it just started dipping, and look back where JMMB right now is at 42. Wow. So the thing is that it's almost like people maybe didn't, I think they read it as, okay, the program is going to start. But the thing is, if you read more into the notice, it says the directors have approved an allocation of an initial amount of 300 million Jamaican, right, to fund the program over a 1-year period. That was key. So it's not like they're literally getting up one day and putting in 300 million. And if you remember, it says it's a program, and it said it will start April 1st, but that doesn't mean that they will actually buy April the 1st. Because they said, I think they said the specific terms of the program will be communicated to the market once regulatory approvals are received. So they haven't actually, I don't think, to my knowledge, they haven't come out with any more news, but there were people that thought that, that's what I'm thinking, possibly because the rise in the share price at that time, there were people that thought the buyback was actually going to start then. But what they're really saying is that April 1st is when it's going to start the program, but we don't have to buy technically till the end of our next financial year, which would be basically March 31st, 2023. They literally could wait till 2 months before possibly and still buy. So it's within a large time period. So,
or they just don't have to. They just
well,
don't.
the
They
thing is
could
that
say it and then they just don't. Because who says they got regulatory approval? Have they come out with a notice saying, "Oh, we've gotten regulatory approval, we can start the buyback now"? So I feel like if you're
But I mean, if
banking
there's
on
like a
something
delay,
that,
like if there's a delay in the regulation,
there
or
could always be a delay.
yeah.
So,
Did you buy?
and how much was JMMB's APO? No.
The
How much was
APO?
JMMB's APO? How much money did they raise?
Oh, I think it was like a couple billion. I don't remember the exact amount.
And now they want to buy back about 300 million worth.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you split up, as much as 300 million sounds good,
Yeah,
if
it
you do
sounds
the
like a
math,
lot.
if you do the math on and you look at the size of JMMB, because JMMB is a blue chip, right? If the 300 million was split evenly over 12 months, that's only about 25 million Jamaican. Right now, let me do a little thing with the Q, right? As I said, on today, which is June 25th, 2022, JMMB's price closed at 42.15, right? If you were to spend $25 million on JMMB right now in one go, you would basically send the price to 48. I mean, it's not that 42 to 48 is bad, but it's just that's if you do it on one day. If you split it out, like so we said 25 million per month. If you then split that out into say 20 trade, say you had 20 trading days, that'd only be about 1.2 million Jamaican. So right now, if they were to say by tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, but the first is Friday, Saturday today. So if they were to buy Monday, right, 1.25 million Jamaican will not even, it'll move it from 42.99 to 43. That's not really gonna do anything for the price. Because and then another point you made was that MJE was buying a lot of JMMB. So in MJE's report, in between the period of January to March this year, MJE bought 279 million JMMB, 279 million Jamaican worth of JMMB shares, right? So that's close to the buyback amount, and that was during a period of 3 months. JMMB says they're gonna spend a little more than that, but over a 1 year timeline. Hold on. What I want to do? Let me pull up the trade data
So
to
how much of
actually
a difference
see.
do you think? So you're saying basically with Mayberry spending 270 million JMD in 3 months and JMMB spending 300 mil on buying back shares in 1 year, how much of a difference will it really make?
The only thing I want
on
to
the share
check though
price?
is I want to see how was MJE just buying from the market, or did they, for example, do a block trade
Buy
and
from
buy
another
some?
entity?
Yeah, that's what I want to check. Okay, let me see.
I mean, there was a big when did they buy it? That was Q1 of this year.
So January to March. So I'm looking at the trades. There was a big trade, for example, January 2022, 700k units. So I'm trying to do workout, right? If it's the 270 million that they bought, if they bought, for example, at $40, that would be about 6.7 million units. When I'm looking at, for example, some of the big trades that happened during that period of the January to March. I'm trying to see. So I say, for example, one day 6.2 million units traded. Another day 6.5 million units traded. Another day 5.2. So I can't even necessarily say they're.
Well, you can
So
kind
it could have been one of. No, I'm wondering. They could have been one of those
trades.
Yeah. So it wasn't like they were necessarily buying. Well, I don't think they were buying necessarily from the queue.
That was
like
so
someone just
if
set
you
the
look at
order
the
there.
volumes, if you look at the volumes, it's 6.2 million on January 24th, January 21st, sorry, at $38. That's 240 mil Jamaican.
Which day, sorry?
Mayberry
Which day?
That was the 21st of January.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
and then the next big trade was actually maybe not, because that's 240 mil, and Mayberry bought what, 270 mil. There's another one on.
But the thing is, hold on, I'm not sure. We don't know what price they bought at, because it would have been using the price the end of March.
Oh, true.
So and then the price end of March was like near the peak. So I'm not even. But yeah, so I mean, they probably bought at max probably $40. And yeah, so it would have been very interesting is if they were actually buying a lot from market, and them buying from market didn't even cause the share price to necessarily move up that much. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
APOs, bro. APOs.
Well, we should big up K Preet. I said their offer was a resounding success.
Nice.
A great success.
That's actually, there's an episode that we have unreleased. The Spur in the Moment part 2. You remember the conversation we had with Gio? Big up Gio. What anyway, I'm there.
Which conversation?
About Cygnus and the buyback. You don't remember?
Yes.
Maybe I'll put a clip. Maybe I'll put a clip of that discussion, because
you guys going to be a little bit disappointed in me, but I'm moving some funds back to Cygnus. I've been doing it recently, but listen to this now. Suppose the next report, they say, all right, we have gained 150% in net profit, but we're going to start the buyback next month. Or they just mention the buyback at that point.
Is that the lie you want to believe, Gio?
Of course, that's the lie I want to believe.
Do they normally
Careful.
Do they normally announce those significant news during a
right,
like in an unaudited? I don't think they normally, something like that would probably come in like through an interview, right, in a news article, or like.
But in the last report, they said that they're going to start doing earnings calls, and that's in the last report they included that, so they might as well slip this share buyback in the management discussion analysis MDA.
Like hopium, but
so
yeah, okay.
You ease off the hopium, bro.
well, the thing is, I made so much from Learn, Spur Tree, and Tropical.
Lose money now?
I can afford to park a set amount in Cygnus and
for the
forget
battery
about
to die,
it now.
the battery to die, and then I won't know where you'll go to get the battery. Tropical.
No. Well,
Well, to be honest, the proof is in the pudding. If Gio's been making good plays so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Cygnus does shoot up with these results. I'm not gonna lie.
Shoot up and then shoot down.
and if you're going to fall back, if it's going to fall back, I'm going to sell it. The thing is, I got it at good price.
Say bet, bro. Say bet.
My average price is actually lower now than what I had before.
he was like, remember, I think at this time, this was when, like 2-3 months ago, he was talking about that he started buying Cygnus, right? And then I was like, eh. And then he was like, this was before the most recent report came out, and he was like, I think this report is gonna be really good. they have all the APO money, they're lending it out, they've been doing really well. Thinking that I think he had bought in at maybe like 15 and he was, he was gonna make some gains from it, and he was already up like all 20%. And he was like, yo, I'm hoping that they're going to also mention the buyback in this next report. And then I was like, you're hoping? Like, there's like, yeah, they've already told us about the buyback from listing, and then they told us when it would be. Why would they mention it now? And he was kind of just hoping for it. And then I was like, yo, I think I specifically said, yo, the share price is gonna tank. And
so said, so done.
so at the time, I think we were talking about it, the share price was probably, I mean, we can check back the recording after, but I think it was maybe 16, 17. I was like, yo, why is this guy not selling? Has he not learned his lesson? Like, but I mean, he learned his lesson now still. The man cut it.
Facts.
I think the man threw it back into something else and made the money. Because like, look at Cygnus, the reports, like it just dipped now. Cygnus is at like 14. It's below 15 once again. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Look at that. What was the APO price again?
Depends on the pool you're in.
So
I think it was $16 if you never had Cygnus shares before. 16.
let me pull it up. And then, just gonna throw this in here. This is our usual disclaimer. None of what we say is financial or should be taken as financial advice. We're just having a discussion on the stock market. You should always speak to your licensed investment advisor. So for the Cygnus APO, it was, for the general public, it was $16.03. And then for existing shareholders at the time, it was $14.07. What is Cygnus' share price right now?
Boy, I actually have not looked at Cygnus in a very long time.
$14.58. So the APO price for existing shareholders, and it would actually be interesting if we check the allotment. Was it that with existing shareholders got most of the offer, or yeah, I mean, so we could check the allotment, because if suppose most of the shares were actually bought at the 1470, yet now the price is the price can't even pass 1470, literally just under it. I'm not making this up. $14.60, basically, just round it up, 14.6. The APO price was $14.07 for those that had shares. Is that a coincidence?
All of them did receive full allotment. Everybody received full allotment.
Yeah, but I'm trying to see, what were more of the shares bought by, was most of the offer existing shareholders? Was it like 90% of it was existing shareholders, a small amount to the public? Or I want to know like the ratio. I'd probably have to
I
go
just remembering
into
it being upsized. I don't remember if there's a, I don't even know if they would even tell you that.
Yeah, no, they do. So, well, they tell you this is in the APO prospectus. So the general public got a small amount of shares. So existing shareholders and team members were able to buy up to 157 million ordinary shares. And well, this was pre-upsize, and they got upsized somewhat. General public actually got 19.6 million. So the majority of the shares were actually bought at the 1470. Yet, what is the share price? Share price is what? $14.58. Yeah. But yeah, that was a funny part. I was like,
General.
Cygnus. So, have you considered, you own any Cygnus?
No. I used to own Cygnus before pre-APO. Like when it was, I think it was around, Cygnus was one of my first stocks that I fully analyzed well. It was like the stock I used to test my analysis. I think I bought it at around 21 or $21. This was, I think, back in like September 2019. Yeah, September 2019. Around that time. and it went up. It went up to like 24. I sold some at 24, but I think I was waiting to. I was gonna buy back more.
Hold on. So you
and I
bought it
didn't.
at what price? You said like 20.
I have no idea. I actually don't know. This would have been in like a dashboard.
Oh, I just
have
wanted
look.
to make it easier. Well, you have like a ballpark range, so I just want to do the percent. Percent.
It was between $20 and $21, definitely.
So you bought at 20 and you sold at like what price? You said 24.
Mm-hmm.
So that was at 17. Probably after fees, that's like a 17% gain.
Mm-hmm.
In how much time you think?
This was before the pandemic I sold, so this would have been maybe January. This was 4 months.
4 months. Wow. 17% in 4 months. Not bad. Not bad.
I mean, I had high hopes for Signals, don't get me wrong. I wanted to buy it back because the share price was fluctuating. I remember it used to fluctuate. Like it used to dip, jump back up, dip, jump back up. So I don't know. There was a point where I really wanted to buy back a lot because I saw Signals going to like 35 at the time. But now I definitely don't see Signals going 35. Not for now, at least. It's gonna take a lot for Signals to go 35. Because I
think
use
the buyback could do
one of the
it?
things. It depends on how heavy the buyback is and the terms of the buyback.
Yeah.
Right? Because a big thing in what I look for in investing is I look at the float. Because that to me tells me how easily the share price can move. Sometimes I look at the float. It's not, nothing I use is hard and fast, right? But sometimes I look at the float, and I think for Cygnus, the top 10 own, I think, about 30 odd percent.
Because they have the golden
Of the
share.
company.
They don't really need.
Mhm.
Well, let me pull it up. Because they don't really actually have to own a majority shareholdership to control the company.
Precisely. But to me,
hold
that
on,
just
wait.
means they're
What
about
percent you said, sorry? The top 10.
30. The top 10.
Oh, as in
own about-
total. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
total.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that, I was just like, to me, that it's so hard for a share price to move when the top 10 owns that amount. I
Who
don't
is
want my top. I like when my top 10 owns like.
Who is the CEO
80%.
again of Cygnus? Do you know his
Is it
name?
Beresford?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Beresford
pull up.
Career.
The thing is, I'm looking at like how many shares does he have? 'Cause that's something that I also like to look at. Like the how many shares the high ups in the companies have, because if they own a lot of shares in a company in like their personal capacity, so their personal portfolio, and the share price is down, if they're actually benefiting from this, it's like they align. Like me as a retail investor, I earn money mainly from the share price increasing. It's not from dividends. So if they are earning money from the share price increasing, they're likely to want the share price to increase. So they'll do things that, benefit the share price. So I'm looking at some of the people, like there's this guy, Ian Williams. He owns like about 1 million shares. Linval Freeman owns 200k shares. The person I see the highest, Dr. Ike Johnson. He owns the most shares I see for the board members. He owns, let's see, he owns 6.6 million, or about 1% of the company. That is a decent amount, but yeah, Cygnus, it'll take a lot to move Cygnus because of, I guess, it's the size of the APO too. It was a very, very large APO for them. And then the thing is also, I've thought about timing Cygnus, right? Something that'd be interesting is that the buyback program, when they eventually do it sometime, well, the program will technically sometimes should start sometime next year. Is it going to be a situation like with JMMB where they say, yeah, man, the program will start, but they're actually not, they could take literally even longer to buy back. So that's why I don't want to be kind of have my money sitting down in Cygnus. Like that's why I think the share price is probably kind of what it is now. It's like, if you know that, you know, they've been dropping strong reports, strong results, blah, 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 share price doesn't usually go up. It usually goes down after each report, even though they're doing record profits, all that stuff. What else is going to make you want to buy Cygnus? The buyback. If the buyback is ways out, why would you own Cygnus necessarily right now? I mean, I guess some people, depending on their timeline, maybe they can sit down in it. But suppose...
I mean, yeah, because some people buy it because they want... Imagine you own a ton of Cygnus at around like $14, $15. And your timeline is 5 years and you're collecting dividends, because Cygnus does pay good dividends, right? I don't know. To me, I'd be comfortable with that. But that's if my timeline is that.
You'd be comfortable with something like that versus something else? Like,
if I'm in it for dividends and my goals are very long.
But do they pay... You'd buy that over something like maybe a Carreras or... that's the thing. Like,
I mean, you pose a good point. Because Carreras,
if the dividend is the main reason. Yeah, because the thing is, Carreras, if you look back, Carreras too, I would say Carreras, they pay, I think, the heaviest dividends. Like, the yields that I see, they're based on my money, 2%. Well, hold on, as in per dividend, so they pay quarterly dividends. So, for example, last year, almost each of the dividends was about 2%.
What's the dividend yield?
Well, it doesn't work out the yearly yield, but for example...
No, I'm asking you the definition of the dividend yield, just for the people then.
Oh, okay. So with dividend yield, it helps you to kind of understand the size of a dividend in relation to, for example, the stock price, right? So the dividend yield, basically, it's what percent are you getting back on the dividend. So if you put in $100 and you get 1% dividend yield, you would get $1. If you put in $1,000, you get a 1% dividend yield, you'd be getting $100. And how you work out the dividend yield, it's based on the price you buy the stock at and the actual amount of the dividend. So let's use an example. Yeah. Where you can work it as the yield, you can more work as a percent. But so if the Carreras dividend, the most recent one, this was paid, well, not paid, but it was declared June 2nd, 2022, right? The dividend per share is 23 cents. So for each share in Carreras, you're going to get 23 cents Jamaican, right? So, but then suppose you bought the Carreras at $10. So for every share you buy, whatever money you spend, you'd get, based on that price, 2.3%. And how you get that is you take the dividend amount, which is the 23 cents, you divide it by, say, the price that you bought it at, which I was using in this example, $10, and then you multiply that by 100. Before fees and taxes, you will get 2.3%. So whatever money you put in, you'll get 2.3% back. Well, after fees and taxes, it'll be less than that, but you'll get that amount of money back as a dividend. So the problem is that the reason that you'd use dividend yield is that depending on the price of a stock, the dollar value will be different. So for example, a cheap, we quote, I don't want to say this, but a lower value stock, like say $1 stock, a $2 stock, the
nominal value.
Yeah, the nominal value will be different compared to, for example, something like a Grace Kennedy. A Grace Kennedy, which is trading at like $100. This stock is trading at $1. So, well, let's actually use an example, which is what's a company like? So let's use Grace. Wait, no, we can just use Grace and Carreras. So let me pull both of those up to compare it, right? So Grace Kennedy, also, I guess, a pretty consistent dividend payer. The yield isn't necessarily as high as Carreras, but they pay out consistent dividends, right? So Grace Kennedy's most recent dividend, which they declared May 13th this year, they paid out 48 cents per stock unit, right? Carreras, as I said, the most recent dividend was 23 cents per stock unit. If you were someone that just looked at the nominal value, you'd be like, oh, Grace Kennedy's dividend is higher, right? Because we're saying Grace Kennedy says they'll pay out 48 cents per stock unit or per stock you own. So for every share you own, you get 48 cents Jamaican. Carreras is saying you'll get 23 cents Jamaican for every share you own, but you're not measuring the price of the shares. The Carreras dividend, even though the nominal value is actually less, that you are actually getting a better return on your investment. Because remember, the Carreras shares are cheaper. So you're able to buy more shares because it's cheaper, and that can actually allow you to get basically a higher return on your investment or a higher yield. Because if you use the same 48 cents, I divide the share price of Grace, say let's use that as 100, the yield on each of your on that dividend is 0.48%. That's even before fees and taxes, you know. So that's actually a lower yield. That's basically saying for whatever money you put in, you're only going to get back 0.48%. Versus when we worked it out for Carreras, what was that again? It was
2.3%.
2.3%. So you can see you'd put in your money, whatever money you put in, you'd get back 2.3%. So dividend yield is a better way to compare dividends. It's kind of like, for example, things like PE and stuff like that, which help you to compare the price.
The price.
Yeah, price to earnings. Yeah, that's what PE is. So that's how you know, for example, $100 stock isn't necessarily expensive compared to a $10 stock or a $1 stock.
Agreed.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully I explained that pretty good.
I think you did, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not touching Cygnus for a good while. I doubt I will touch Cygnus this year, unless I do like some short term something when it go dip or something. But I don't even think that's really worth it, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's just too much other stuff, man. I don't know if I choose that still.
All right. So, hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Please don't forget to just drop a like, drop a rating on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., Spotify. Also, if you guys really want us to talk about certain topics, please don't be shy. Send us a DM on our Instagram or send us, there's going to be a comment section on our website. You can also send in some, whatever you want us to talk about. If you have any questions on investing or on just stocks on the JSE, we would really love to hear from you guys. And that's really it. Thank you guys so much for always supporting us.